Hello, everyone. My name is MizarLuke, and today I'm joined by,
Sember.
and together we'll be going over a poorly recounted history of the Promethean Directive Season 2. It was a
Ye-
absolutely crazy season this past summer that we spent about 3 months of just gameplay and so many more months in setup to get this game to happen for all of you. And now we're going to do our best months later, once we finally recovered, to talk about the lore and the histories and everything that went on in this crazy season. I'm going to do a quick flip through of all the maps so you can see just how much chaos went on, how many fleets there were, how the terrain all evolved, and the craziness that happened here. This one is the worst map, by the way. And then to the end. That's the maps. We'll start by going over to the Discord and then looking through all of the nation summaries. Make this go away. Gone. Okay, I guess it just stays in the corner then. That's cool.
Also,
We will be going through a summary of the nations just in the order that they're posted here. As one of the early season things, Komomo did a great job of getting these posters together to show off a bit of design, the
the aesthetics of each nation, the general technology level, and a third random tidbit that Kumo thought would be funny or relevant.
yep, as well as the flag and whatever info for these. So we'll
Exactly.
start off with the Eon Hive.
Eon Hive's machine collective led by ranked scions who shape its will. Guided by a council of industrialists, scientists, diplomats, and martialists, it pursues evolution through biomechanical innovation and coordinated purpose, focused on walkers, with a high technology level, a medium meta level, and 11 out of 10 Goober level
Maximum goober level for sure.
maximum.
Next up is the Sea Dogs Fellowship, Spoon's faction, which
Yep.
is an anarchic state overseen by a military fellowship of sea dogs, influential leaders of individual factions who came together for mutual survival and cultural similarity. These guys are very low meta, very low tech, and dubiously deep water guard pilled, but they're very similar in aesthetic. But I
Yeah.
think Spoon's done his own thing. Very cool.
Spoon's done his own job. It's just simply a matter of the fact that Deep Water Guard's wood and metal
True.
and
That's
is the first faction in the game.
I'm gonna do Alder Crown too. Cool faction, even more primitive pilled. These guys are very low tech, low meta, and they're terrifying engines apparently. They're a monarchy,
Mm.
an imperialist kingdom just coming out of a long waning period after the deposition of a usurper king. Take note of that for later. The interregnum left them very behind the curve in technology, still using wood and sails. Engine technology is rare and limited, but their builds are super cool and classic. Those guys cooked as usual.
Absolutely beautiful designs. The Eternal Kingdom of Mjolnir, a monarchy. Mjolnir was said to be founded 10,000 years ago by a demigod for his guidance to and unification of warring tribes. It was a great power when other nations were but hunter-gatherers and subsistence farmers, but many years eroded its marble foundations. Now, with the guidance and revival of His Eminence, Mjolnir aims to bring its newfound prosperity to the rest of the world, with a medium technology level, a medium meta level, and absolutely beautiful designs. Just do not look underneath the decorations.
Oh, the decoping goes hard with this one. And
I love them so much, but do not take the decos off.
yeah, they're also a large and usually well-run faction that was impressive for the collaboration that they did and the specialization between their members. It was cool seeing a nation mainly led by someone who does not play FTD.
Yep.
Oh, Blue Rock Investment Company, Megacorp. These guys were certainly a main character in the season. They were all over the place. They handled nearly all of at least maybe half the trade that happened. It was crazy. But they are an AI run corporation that bought out its own home country and whose primary objective is to make money. Maintaining as large a consumer base as possible, they remain staunchly neutral, acting only when there's a major threat to the company and its holdings. High tech, high meta, and maximum semiconductor stonks.
Blue Rock has a lot going on that will go throughout the season.
Yes, they shaped a lot of the balance of the season and so many things that happened.
The Mandate from Heaven, a theocratic council. A group of 20 people capable of deciphering God's garbled messages that, with the help of said God, rule over the state of Wizven after the old order's corruption was made public. Fields a wide variety of weapons in multiple platforms of delivery. Has a medium technology and a medium meta level, and a 9 out of 11 parasocialism level.
Interesting. I
Mandate from
wonder.
Heaven is a very interesting faction. I aesthetically as well, and for what it's done throughout the start of the season.
They were one of the near future slash Cold War kind of aesthetic. Pretty classic faction, but they struggled economically and didn't get too many of their more unique designs out there, unfortunately.
Yes,
We're going to brush over the Star of Coalition because they did not last very long before the whole party rage quit. Cool concept, though.
cool concept. Unfortunately, out of Discord stuff happened.
Yeah. And the Promethean Directive is very much not. It is somewhat competitive, but if you come here expecting tournament level stuff, you will be disappointed and you will probably rage quit mid season, which I
Yes.
think was one of their issues.
The Rumokaian Empire, a triple monarchy, a fragile alliance between three absolute monarchies, the Empire exists to keep an iron grip on their holdings and maintain national security. They field late Cold War to modern inspired designs, with a medium technology level, a medium threat level, and a maximum threesome level, whatever that means. Rumokaya Empire, I don't know what to specifically say for them, since I wasn't there for the early fights. However, I do know one of them would later go on to shape much of the later season, and especially towards the mid game.
Yeah, they were interesting for sure. They were one of the nations that had probably the most one of the more interesting dynamics between the players, where they were pretty much keeping their own different design styles, different strategies, and then each to some extent acted in their own interest. They didn't have a fully unified foreign policy.
Yeah, which made it interesting to run, I
Yeah.
would imagine.
Next up is Federation Tehuapec, which is the first and last time you'll probably hear it said properly. Most known as
Yep.
Tofupec. They're a confederation of bickering temple city-states and cults held together by common belief systems and the need for mutual defense against outsiders. Politics are currently dominated, take note the currently dominated, as it will change a lot, by the solar cult and its zealots. Low tech, low meta, and doing lots of sacrifices. They are an Aztec pilled nation with a variety of designs, but tons of like thick ships made out of stone and it's kind of Onyx Watch ish.
Yes, one of the builders used to be a primary Onyx Watch designer, then went over to Federation to Hurbeck, and that's also the first and last time I'll say it properly. They are also interesting. They come along much later in the season, usually around the mid to late season is when they're most active. And just to preface, I was a player, and these guys were my main ally, so to speak. But you'll see that they are very interesting.
Great word for it. Yeah, Simber was a player up until his faction's performance was going south for various factors, and then joined the event team to help us out there, which was great.
Yes, I perished horrifically.
Yeah, it's got to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Kharbarov is a communist-style technocratic dictatorship. A state formed when Kharbarov collapsed into civil war, and its pre-war governor, Ion Marlev, maintained control of his province and united the northernmost three islands of the larger Kharbarov region. They have a modernized army of World War II to early Cold War designs, and they're in a fragile ceasefire with the Confederation of Zaftra to the south. Mid technology, mid meta, and very Civil War-y. So these guys were actually pre-built in a Civil War conflict with a lot of shared lore with the guys you'll see next, which led to some interesting stuff, and it's really cool to see when nations directly collaborate with another one for lore.
It's very cool to see multiple people come together and form separate nations and then make that work together. The Confederated States of Zaftra, a democratic confederation, a young nation established by an outside fleet of explorers amidst the Kharbarov Civil War. As of now, the nation is rapidly developing, assimilating technology of the founding fleet into all aspects of life, with a military fielding old alongside the new and intermediary, perhaps in hasty preparation for what is to come. They maintain an uneasy peace with the provisional government of Akaba to the north. They have a high technology level, a medium meta level, and are south of the Civil War. They field some very beautiful designs, I will admit, especially in comparison to their neighbor Kharbarov.
Yeah, they also had a really cool split style where they have some very futuristic designs in that blue icy style, and then
Yes.
some like straight out of the Cold War Russian-looking designs with even more detail and cool aesthetics, and they pulled it off pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I'll take the River Kingdom of Zygnixel, which is a monarchy. A kingdom steeply draped in tradition but does not oppose innovation. Deeply connected with the rivers of its land and its religion, are modernizing civilization with dreadnought styling and an emphasis on size. A low technology level, a medium meta threat level, and a rising river water level. The River Kingdom is my faction,
Yep.
and they they are very similarly based off of the Onyx Watch, like the Huapec, but with primarily metal and alloy. There's a lot I can say on the personal designs of them, but to keep it short, they are thick bathtubs.
Yes. With that are named after kitchen utensils.
Yeah, they were named after kitchen utensils or frogs
True.
or some
Yes.
sort of land animal. They were. It was one hell of a trip, especially since I intended to go into it not solo.
Yeah, they had a really cool war with someone you'll see in a couple. That was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Next up is the Ionian Kingdom, a monarchy, low tech, low meta, very high rum and wine. They are a kingdom with a proud but long forgotten past, the prime exporter of rum and wine, led by an immortal king who is determined to ensure his people survive. That same king has safeguarded his people from technological advancements in an endeavor to make sure his prophecy does not come to pass. These guys were like Greek styled sailing ships and primitive technology, and they were locked in an eternal death battle. Well, they're meant to be in an eternal death battle with the Aldrich Crown. That only happened later in the season.
and eventually the technology would slightly increase, only slightly.
Yes. And they got locked in a death battle at the very beginning with someone later down.
The Sandstorm Horde, a hive of ravenous invertebrates that are spreading out from a remote island into a strange new world. Under the command of a central mind, they are prepared to cull anything that stands in their path. With a low technology level, a high meta threat level, and an infinite hunger, the Sandstorm Horde would be my primary opponents, and overall actually really chill, even though I was in a definite disadvantage.
Yep, that was an interesting war that we'll definitely get to a lot later, especially given Simber's experience with it.
Yes.
Really cool people. I'll take Mabaraba. They are a nascent dictatorship. Mabaraba Eternal City is an ancient, secretive, and insular city-state which has recently undergone a major political upheaval. The old, unpopular caliphate has been overthrown, and in its place a new faction has risen. Led by the charismatic and mysterious Sovereign Anan Rin, his vision for the future will bring great change to the Eternal City, and perhaps even the surrounding world. High tech, high meta, and supposedly decent charisma, although I'd
We
say
will
that varied.
we will touch upon that charisma. However, they are one of the big three, as we'll see later on.
Yes, one of the big three high tech nations that got involved in a whole lot of stuff. They were honestly all over the map. Next up is the classic Federated Commonwealth of Merland and Romaine, henceforth referred to as Fedcom of
Bedcom of
Miron.
Miron.
They're low tech and low meta, and they are a dual monarchy, with their two nations having banded together to the point of quasi unification. They share nearly all institutions, from the armed forces to civilian administration, but each retains a certain measure of individual identity and culture. The Imperatress of Romaine and the Kitester of Merland are the highest authorities in the Commonwealth.
I love them.
Yes, cool faction, a lot of involvement on the west side. They were right in the middle, I guess, of the west side, and therefore had a significant role in several conflicts with various neighbors.
Yes, they also maintained a very World War II style compared to everyone else's Cold War style, I suppose, down further
Mm-hmm.
south.
Yeah.
And especially for me, they are very large ships, and that was always very cool to see.
Yeah, there were some, mostly the Western Hemisphere of wars had a lot of big ship battles, and a lot of those Merlin was involved in. Some of the rest were Tehuapec.
The Erewhon remains a digital monarchy, a robotic nation ruled by two absolute monarchs built from the ruins of an empire lost in its nuclear civil war, determined to ensure the perpetuation of biological life and keen to bring about nuclear disarmament with a high technology and a high meta level, as well as robotic something notes. It's just a really big space. This is another one of the big three. I'm very confident in saying that Erewhon has changed the meta
Mm-hmm.
for TPD throughout the season
Yes.
and was led by two people who were previously in another nation during the beta test, which I'll only mention briefly here,
Yeah.
which also really changed how traits were.
They were involved in some of the early beta testing and helped to get some things more balanced by showing how broken they were. They were very overpowered economically and reasonably powerful in terms of like design skill.
I will say that event team did have some frustration with them, but again, that was just throughout the season. I still think Errol Remains were actually they were really chill, I will admit.
Yeah, they were chill, and if people were willing to warmonger enough at the beginning of the game, they could have been balanced. But people did not realize the threat despite several warnings, and so they were able to grow to a nearly unassailable level of power.
As well as thanks to outside factors, they're one opponent that we could have potentially had left.
Yes, true. Next up is one of their longtime allies, the Sword of the Ecclesiarch. They are an ecclesiarchy, an ancient, previously isolationist empire ruled by a council of high priests. After a religious upheaval following the silencing of the God Machine, the high priests have been replaced with a high ecclesiarch, and the nation has begun to expand south. High meta, high threat, and their ships often are made of cathedrals.
Yeah, the Sword of the Ecclesiarchy, as you'll notice on the flag itself, is part of the, or is it the Army of Jihadism, I believe is
Yes.
the term. One of the original members would later go on to join the event help themselves, leaving just one person.
Yeah, that happened to a
Well,
few
two.
nations where
Yeah,
they started out with a lot of people and then it kind of diminished, and that
yes.
hurt somewhat, like design diversity and then being able to be active in politics. But they still did pretty good on that front. They were an active member of the most powerful alliance on the map and had a respectable number of battles.
Yes. Though we're very frustrating outside in terms of our character roleplay. The Uma Musume Regional Accord, a coalition of islands that have interconnected culture revolving around racing for glory and rewards. Gambling is seen as a fact of life. Although they value speed, their forces are well balanced, with a medium technology level and a low meta level, and a piteous gacha level. The Uma Musume Regional Accord is based off of the Uma Musume Pretty Derby game slash show slash
Yeah, whatever it
everything.
is.
I love them. The builders were all relatively new, and although we will probably not mention it in the season, they had a spy war which was incredible
Yeah.
and was incredibly long lasting.
Yep, and they had a decent number of conflicts, but their designs were struggling in many of them, which makes sense for their meta level.
Most importantly, as well, they were really good at roleplay, and I loved reading it.
Yes, yeah, they were one of the most active RPers for sure. Next up, one of their enemies is the Vltavan Brotherhood, a dictatorship, the latest hypernationalist regime to take control of the famously unstable Vltavan Islands. Formed after the collapse of the Rodina Republic under foreign invasion, they will do whatever it takes to destroy all that threatens the Vltavan people, even if what it takes is selling fentanyl and sending guerrillas to assassinate their enemies.
And especially if it takes killing your own people.
Yes! Especially if
I
all
hope,
you have to do is take a little bit of action.
especially if you have to take action.
Yeah. Mid tech, mid meta, and dangerous levels of belligerency.
The Vltavan Brotherhood is an absolute menace.
Yes,
They're,
that's the best way to describe them.
they were a menace not only to the fellow players, but the game master and event help.
That is a good way to describe it. Okay, next up, the Fissionistic Contingents. They are a selective hive mind, a highly advanced state with a unique hive mind governing system. They're extreme on neutrality, and they specialize in nuclear technologies, as you can see from their flag. They smoke plutonium and thrive on radioactive polluted zones. High tech, high meta, and 30 Rongans, we'll call it.
Fissionistic contingents. I don't know how best to describe them then. Very unstable, we'll put it.
Just like uranium, they're unstable. Yeah. Cool designs, very Lightning Hood themed, or similar to Lightning Hood, but certainly taken their own way. And I think with a better economy, they could have made the high meta world a lot more interesting. But that was one place that they didn't cook in as much as the rest.
They were definitely struggling against a lot of other factors there as well, as we'll get into. The Dust Bunnies, a fallen kingdom, a once prosperous despotic monarchy turned fallen kingdom. The Dust Bunnies are the remnants of Lepredae. Reborn after a revolt during a fertility plague following a demonic coup, they field walkers with synthetic muscles, helicopters, and black stealth ships. Made gift of life be restored under Catherine VI Lepredae. With a high technology level and a medium meta level, and absolutely no fertility as
despite
they are
being bunnies.
plagued, despite being bunnies. I like the dust bunnies themselves. I especially like them later on in the season, but the start was absolutely atrocious for them.
Yeah, there was some difficult RP stuff and some poor communication and standard setting between them and the event help team. Had different expectations, we'll say, between them and the admin team in terms of what could be done and what was practical timeline wise.
Yes, since we're limited to 20 turns here, so you have to do everything you want to do in 20 turns, and you only have an epilogue that's semi-canon.
And even then, in those 20 turns, you can only pack so much because the GM team only has so much time to make things happen.
Yeah, usually we have about three actual days for a turn at best.
Yep.
And the event team will need to be on the ball almost 100% of the time, which is not feasible because you will burn the candle at both ends.
Yep. And all of our teams has to be split between 25 nations, which is a lot.
Yes,
Moving on to the next one is the Chorus Collective Hive Mind. They're an aquatic flesh hive mind born with an intense need for propagation. They're built incredibly thick, dense, but cheap, and they breed quickly. They utilize biomechanical engineering. They're masters of biological forms and adaptable for any and all habitation. Low tech, low meta, and uber bioform level is at an egg. It grew larger.
I like the Chorus Collective Hive Mind. But what happened out of game
Yeah.
was incredibly annoying, to put it mildly, multiple times throughout the season,
They
and
cause so many crash outs.
which will start on turn 0.
Yes. Yeah, we'll explain more later, but they were an event boosted faction. That is to say that they got some powerful perks, and me and to a smaller extent the rest of the event team were somewhat involved in keeping things balanced by helping them and helping their enemies. But there was a lot of fear mongering that happened, and I think that was kind of rooted in low trust of the mod team to pull things off well. That led a lot of people to get terrified and think that everything was doom and gloom and these guys were undefeatable.
Yes, as well as various considerations to the other factions for not. It's a lot. We'll get into it.
Yep. Next up is Relic, with a very conveniently short description. They're a quote unquote monarchy. Their core is an ancient but barely functioning AI, fragmented while attempting to reboot, and it has fused itself to a massive psychic tree and the tribes of people living on it as a means to stabilize itself. High tech, high meta, maximum cacophony, and one of the coolest and most unique aesthetics of the Promethean Directive, maybe in all of FTD.
Aesthetically, they are incredible, very unique, and they have good designs.
Yes, good
But
and terrifying
let's
designs.
just say they are, as we mentioned with Fissionistic contingent, Fissionistic, they're also very unstable.
Yes, and they're also a nation that could have benefited from a greater economy to be able to compete with the other mega alliance, but we'll get into that.
Yes, which we mentioned previously with Fission as well.
Yep. And the last of these is Sector 7, which I'll let you handle.
Sector 7, our glorious managed democracy, the remaining sector of Reggie's Chocolate Company, an oppressive gulag state. Sector 7 triumphed over the 8 other sectors in a brutal civil war for control. They earned their freedom through blood, sweat, and are well known for their mastery of repurposing civilian machinery, with a dislike of pirates. With a medium technology level, a medium threat level, and 8 other destroyed sectors, even though it says 7.
What?
They started off sort of shaky, but became a fan favorite very quickly afterwards.
Yes, they're one of the memeiest factions, a cool, distinct aesthetic of their own. And I find this is funny that in reading that description now, I had no idea that they were a sector of Reggie's Chocolate Company. I guess that's a deep lore thing. And
It's technically a deep lore thing.
yeah. And you can also see some setup for things that didn't really come to pass too much, like their dislike of pirates that was meant to set them up to fight Spoon's faction, but
Yes, they were meant to.
didn't really pan out too much, and also to fight Vltava, which they I think somewhat did.
Yes, Sector 7 would start with a very small amount of people, but would then later grow in size, and was very much helped by the additional manpower for actually helping Cringe be able to play it, especially after his previous season 1 game.
Yes, which was interesting for its own ways that you can find in the previous one of these videos.
Exactly.
All right, that is all of the 25 nations covered. So now we're going to swap over to actually looking at the maps and then reading out our best remembrance of what lore has happened each time.
And please do bear with us. We will not get through everything. There is simply so much.
Yes, I'm gonna look up how many messages got sent in the Promethean Directive, and it's just an insane number.
It
650,000 messages got sent in the official Discord, which I think is more than were sent
OFTD.
in OFTD during the same time period. I think
Primarily
easily.
because we stole a lot of members from there.
Yes. Yeah, the
And I
activity
can
in TPD
attest,
was
sorry,
was incredible.
and I can attest to the fact that even in OFTD, a lot of the messages in there were also, yet again,
TPD.
more TPD.
Yes.
And I will also ask everyone to take a look at how many nations there are on this map. Oh my God.
Yes, 25 nations plus an NGO. It was a lot of stuff, a lot of chaos. There were, at the end of the season, 80 people survived, but we were probably closer to 100 at the very start before some people left and factions got shifted around.
Yep, since we bled a lot of players as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm going to take a break and eat my macaroni, and then we can regroup and record this part.
We will regroup and then come back to this.